Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Football Fandemic, where we are going to be looking back and breaking down the wild card weekend, looking ahead to the divisional round, and talking about all the coaching switches that are going on right here on the Football Fandemic. Welcome everyone once again. Matthew Thomas here with Josh Kolodziejski and Brandon Colmark, ready to break down all of the craziness that has happened this last week. It was I was talking to Josh just before we started. I had a good weekend of football, just a lot of fun games. I think maybe knowing I was no longer in it, there's nothing to stress about how bad the Colts were going to continue losing at the end of the year. This was just a chance for me to sit back and enjoy watching some other football. I know Brandon didn't necessarily get that option to sit back without stress, but both Josh and I, yeah, we weren't supposed to spoil that.
There's still stress. We'll talk about it later.
There's still stress. That's right. You still do have stress coming because there's futures to be decided yet in Green Bay. But yeah, we're going to break down those games and we're going to talk about the games coming up. But before we do that, we have to get to what all's going on in the NFL, particularly hirings, firings, leavings. What's going on, Josh, with that this week?
Yeah, well, when we left our show last week, there were 8 head coaching vacancies in the NFL, and now today there are 9. Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers have agreed to part ways. I don't know if that's just a friendly way of firing Mike Tomlin, but he is out as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, which means that, this is Pittsburgh who... I want you guys to think who your last 3 head coaches were. For me, it's Kevin O'Connell, including Kevin O'Connell, Mike Zimmer, and Leslie Frazier. That takes us back to 2010.
Oh my goodness. Why is this so hard? Shane Steichen, obviously, just before him. Why can't I think just before him? I can only think Chuck Pagano. That was a ways back. Who was after Chuck? Oh,
do you count Jeff Saturday?
Well,
Not interim.
Count Josh McDaniel.
Not interim. Yeah.
Right, not interim, but who was the guy just before Shane Steichen? Why can I not think of this right now?
It is he used to play quarterback. He led the big comeback. Frank Reich.
Oh yes, Frank Reich. How could I forget Frank Reich? So Frank was right after Pagano. So yeah, so it's Steichen, Frank Reich, Pagano, and those have all. I guess that's been it's probably been too long for each of those guys, but how about you, Brandon?
But
I think mine's a little bit more clear cut. Obviously, there's Matt LaFleur. Throw Joe Philbin in there if you want to throw Joe Philbin for the 6, 7, or 8 games that he coached for the Packers, like that half season he did after Mike McCarthy was fired. Before Mike McCarthy, I think we had Mike Sherman, and before Mike Sherman, we obviously had Mike Holmgren. I went 4 there.
You went back 4.
But so
if we go,
yeah, we're only thinking Mike Holmgren to McCarthy to LaFleur.
If we go back 3 head coaches for all of us, that means we're still in the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
For Pittsburgh, it goes Mike Tomlin, Bill Cowher, Chuck Noll, which puts us pre-NFL merger. 1968 was the last time that one of those 3 gentlemen was not the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, they went close to 20 years
incredible
each,
run of
didn't
continuity.
They?
Yeah. Cowher went from 69 to 91. Noll went from 69 to 91. Cowher went from 92 until 2006, and then it's been Mike Tomlin ever since, taking over in 2007. They will finally have a new head coach.
I kind of feel bad that Tomlin didn't get one more year to make 20. He's 19. He feels like the flunky out of the bunch, right? He didn't go over 20. But So what do you think? Do you think Mike Tomlin will go on, or will he go to the booth?
I think he's going to the booth. I think if this is truly a parting of ways, I think at the very least he'll want a gap year, and you can make some good money. And Matt Ryan is now out in CBS, so maybe he can just go to the studio and take Matt Ryan's job now that he's the president of the Atlanta Falcons. But if he wants to come back to be the Vikings defensive coordinator once Brian Flores gets hired somewhere else, he had the top run defense in the NFL that year. We will gladly take him back. Welcome with open arms, no hard feelings. You are welcome to work in this town again, Mike Tomlin.
What's crazy is you just said Mike Tomlin had the top run defense, or are you saying Minnesota did?
Minnesota with Mike Tomlin, the 1 year he was our defensive coordinator, had
okay. I was going to say surely he didn't this last year, at least not according to the Texans game I just watched. But.
No.
Mike Tomlin is also welcome to come to Green Bay as our defensive coordinator, providing that Hafley potentially gets hired. He's interviewing this whole week. He's in Tennessee today, and it's a pretty compelling argument to say you get to coach Micah Parsons. I mean, does the dream get better than that for a defensive coordinator? I don't think so.
It's definitely something you want more than Quiddy pay.
It would add some sort of layer to this Steelers-Ravens rivalry if John Harbaugh just went across, remained in the division, and became the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. How would he be viewed in Baltimore if that were to happen?
He's dead to them. That's it.
Yep. With that,
accomplishments out the window. His one Super Bowl out the window, and now they're happy that he lost all of those playoffs games.
Man, that'd be crazy. So we did talk about John Harbaugh left right at the end of last week's podcast. So yes. Mike Tomlin was the only addition. I don't know why.
Actually, there was one more. I forgot. There were only 7 when we left. 6 when we started our last show. 7 when we ended our last show. And then finally, Matthew, your dream has come true. Mike McDaniel, no longer.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Miami Dolphins.
I was like, I don't know why they waited 17 games instead of 8 games, like I said, but they finally got it right.
And do you think the rumor there?
Oh, go ahead. What's the rumor?
The rumor there is that because Adam Schefter, after John Harbaugh was fired, he from his agent, he was told that Harbaugh has already received calls at this point from 7 teams with head coaching vacancies. Baltimore was one of 7 teams at the time with head coaching vacancies. So I'm guessing they were not in contact with him about just returning. That means there was a team without a head coaching vacancy at that point that had reached out to John Harbaugh's agent after he was fired by Baltimore, and then just so happens that Miami 2 days later fires Mike McDaniel.
So you think Harbaugh in Miami, maybe?
I don't know. I think maybe he at least at the very least kept them on the string. Like kind of like when there's a girl that's like completely out of your league, but you're like really trying to pursue her, but she's keeping you on a string, and you're naive, and you're in middle school or high school, and you're definitely in the friend zone, but you still think there's a chance that you can have a relationship with her. That's what I think is the case here with Miami and John Harbaugh, where John Harbaugh is the girl that is out of the league of the Miami Dolphins.
Well, it's going to be fun watching what they do, because I think they still have Tua for like a lot of money, $55 million, something like that. I could be making that up totally, but it's a lot. And he didn't seem to be their answer. So, yeah, we'll see what goes on there. But we've seen people let higher priced quarterbacks sit, Deshaun Watson, and I'm sure we'll see it again sometime in the future. But
Now we have to preface this. It's not just letting them, quote unquote, sit, right? They have some mysterious injury that no one can figure out, and they can't be on the field, right? There's slight difference there. You got to throw the story there. Yeah. If your new head coach comes out and says, "Yeah, Tua sucks, man," like I'm not going to play him, like that's a different story. Then hey, sorry.
That would be if Brian Flores returns to Miami.
Yeah. Sorry, he's got concussion protocol all season. He can't play.
There's no way you're going to get someone to take a bite if you're just like, we're just sitting him because he's no good, which makes me wonder if Anthony Richardson really had much of an ocular fracture or no, he must, because we still have him and we're still going with him. Story for another day. Something to talk about another day.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and look at these.
That's. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Outside of that, it's just offensive coordinators that have been fired. Greg Roman of the Chargers and Kevin Petula of the Philadelphia Eagles. Those guys are both out. I'm not sure if Cliff Kingsbury had been out when we last recorded, but Cliff Kingsbury is also out as the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator.
He was. Josh had us bring it up. He texted us, make sure that we talk about this.
Lots of OCs out. And Josh, I think Josh was okay with that, right?
He was ecstatic. Yeah.
Which was funny because when he first came in, I remember him thinking, man, Cliff Kingsbury is going to come in. It's going to be awesome with Jaden Daniels. If you're listening, which I don't think he is, but yeah, didn't work out quite that way. Of course, I also had a Raiders fan lay out all the reasons they were going to be in the playoffs this year, and we saw that they ended up with the first overall pick. So not everybody's expectations are met. All right. Well, let's go on to our games from the wild card weekend. A wild weekend to be sure. We'll just go through them in the order they happened in, and then we'll talk about each one. Of course, we'll let Brandon talk more about one that's in the second slot, maybe. Started with the Rams and Panthers. I actually didn't get to watch this game. I wanted to, and I looked at the score, and I was pretty amazed that the Panthers seemed to be very close to beating the Rams, or at least very competitive in that game. Did either of you get to watch that one?
I watched most of the game. I'm sure Josh watched the whole game. I was overall impressed with Bryce Young and what he brought to the Panthers. Now, they started down just a little bit, and they pushed for an almost pretty convincing comeback right up until the end when LA just put the dagger right in.
I did hear the Panthers just exercised the 5th-year option on Bryce Young. At least that was in the news today. So they like what he's showing and becoming, even though they went into the playoffs with a losing record of 8-9. They like it. They think it's going somewhere. So we'll see.
Yeah, Bryce Young had his ups and downs in this game. I think more downs early on, and that's why the Rams were able to get out to what was like a 14-0 lead at first. But then he just starts hitting his throws. They found a way to neutralize the pressure that the Rams were bringing, and basically just abandoned the run because it wasn't working, so that they were no longer putting themselves into 2nd and long and 3rd and long situations. Every single time when you were throwing it, you at least had the chance of making the completion and staying ahead of schedule. His anticipation was out of this world on some of these throws. His go-ahead touchdown in the 4th quarter, he is hitting his wide receiver before he is out of his break. Him and Ted McMillan were like on the same page, and Ted McMillan already might be one of the best just route runners, pure route runners in the NFL, with the way that he is able to kind of stem and then break off his routes. He was turning around like Quentin Lake and Akello Weatherspoon, like not great, but not bad cornerbacks all throughout this game. It seemed like every single route that he was running, but it was just Matthew Stafford time. And he has apparently now taken the 9 nickname, by the way, because after the game, one of his teammates said, "Oh yeah, you just left too much time for 9. Don't they?" Like, he was wondering why all the Panthers fans were cheering when there's still 2 minutes left to go in the game and 9 is making his way down the field. So JJ McCarthy, you have to give up that nickname. Unfortunately, Matthew Stafford certainly earned that. And so did Sean McVay, because that whole last drive was set up by just like a chess match here between him and Ejiro Evero, where early on in the game, they were getting the ball to Puka Nacua in all sorts of mismatched situations. The first drive, he had 4 catches. One was against like a safety, one was against the linebacker, and then the go-ahead, the first touchdown of the game, they put him in the backfield and they run him out of the backfield because they know Carolina's coverage rules when they're going palms. When there's one receiver on one side of the field, that means that cornerback has to lock down on that wide receiver basically no matter what. And they basically wasted J.C. Horn, forced Carolina to waste J.C. Horn on Colby Parkinson by putting Colby Parkinson all the way out to the outside, then Nacua in the backfield. That means he's going to be on either a safety or linebacker no matter what, just based on what Carolina's coverage rules are. And if you put Puka Nacua on a safety, he's going to win that 10 times out of 10. And he won right there. He got a touchdown. And so that forced Carolina to kind of switch up their coverages a little bit. And there were miscommunications between players. And on that last drive, Los Angeles ran the same play basically twice, where at this point, J.C. Horn was injured and had left the game. So they're bringing in a depth cornerback on the outside named Caleb Evans, who used to play for the Vikings and was cut from a pretty weak Vikings cornerback room. So that can tell you how good/bad he is. In any case, they basically had cornerbacks no matter what in the second, third, and fourth quarters, no matter what, you are going to crash down on Puka Nacua regardless of our coverage rules. And they did this play where Puka Nacua goes on a dig, and right next to him, Colby Parkinson goes on a wheel route to the outside. And on the first time, they saw the cornerback crash down on Puka Nacua over the middle of the field on the dig, abandoning that deep quarter of the field. And they threw it to Nacua the first time. The second time, they recognized Parkinson is one-on-one with Trayvon Moehrig. Moehrig was in good coverage, but Parkinson is much bigger. He has the size advantage. There's no safety over the top to help. Matthew Stafford makes a pitch-perfect throw, and Colby Parkinson comes down with it under a minute left for the touchdown. And the Rams, Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, so much you can say about all of those guys just winning the chess match right there.
Yeah, it would have been very embarrassing for them to have all the MVP talk at the early part of the year and then lose to the losing record Panthers in the first round. So they had to do that. They did just barely what they needed to. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like versus the Bears next week. I think the Bears play the Rams, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
We can talk about that when we get to those games, but definitely one they needed to win in order to not feel like a complete mirage and losers, even though it was a good story for the Panthers. Moving on, we then had game number 2, Packers versus Bears. I want to let Brandon take the bulk of this, but I do want to say when I was watching this game, by the time I got to halftime, I thought this game was over. I thought, man, this is the Bears again, the Bears. And I kept watching, but what in the world happened, Brandon?
Well, it's a good question, Matthew. What in the world did happen in Soldier Field on Saturday night? First thing, full credit to Jordan Love in this offense. That first half, that's exactly how you come out and start a playoff football game. That's exactly how you did it.
Mm-hmm.
Where we fell short, obviously, came in the second half. Anyone that watched the game knew that. And
fourth quarter, really?
Well, no. You come out at halftime, and your first 3 drives are punts, and the first 2 are 3 and outs. What it is, and we've seen this trajectory with Matt LaFleur all season. So, just in case you didn't know, every game that the Packers were leading by halftime this season, we lost every single one. 100% loss rate when you're up at the half. Now, what's happening is Matt LaFleur comes out in the third quarter, and he's had this it's his weakest moment as a coach, right? I love Matt LaFleur. He is a good coach, but his weakest moment is when he's playing with a lead. He's not focused on getting first downs. He's not focused on doing anything except running the same 4 plays. And 3 of them are Josh Jacobs runs. And 2 of those Josh Jacobs runs are inside zone. Take your pick if it's on the left or on the right. So his play calling gets far too predictable when he's playing with a lead, which makes it easy for defenses to cover. Now, he got better a little bit in the fourth quarter with the Matthew Golden touchdown. Some of that was Matthew Golden himself, breaking 3 tackles and going 16 yards in for his first touchdown in the NFL. Shout out Matthew Golden. If you're listening, come on the podcast. We'll take you. But the issue in my eyes, it 100% fell down to lack of play calling coming into the second half. If you shrink the field and the defense only needs to play within 5 yards, they're going to stop you every single time. If you extend the field and now the defense has to cover 20 yards, you're going to get some yards. You're going to get a few first downs. I get the idea when you're playing with a lead, you want to kill as much time while you're on offense as possible. That's just a smart coaching move. But you have to align your play calling to go in with that. And every time LaFleur has had a lead, he comes out and he's like, all right, we're just going to run the ball because statistically, running the ball bleeds the most time. Running the ball doesn't get you first downs 100% of the time when the defense knows you're just going to run the same 2 runs. Inside zone, left, inside zone, right. Take your pick. And you can plug up both of those holes on defense easily. And we saw the Bears adjust to that. They knew. To me, that's exactly where the game fell down. Now, I expected some fight back from Chicago, right? They've had amazing fourth quarter comebacks all season. I think 7, including playoffs, or was it 8, including playoffs? Six or 7, not to trigger anyone in the audience out there, during the regular season, +1 in the wild card round. So you can expect that. And if I'm coaching this, which I'm not, I am going out there and I'm trying to put the game away in the third quarter. I'm trying to get 3 touchdowns in the third quarter.
3 more. Yeah.
3 more touchdowns and try to get it to 42-3 entering the fourth. Now, that's never happened in the history of the NFL that a team going into the fourth quarter has come back 42-3. It hasn't happened. And if it happened against the Packers and the Bears, I would have been even further distraught, right?
Yeah.
But that's really where the breakdown was going to happen. You can't let up when you have the lead. You have to go and take opportunities where you're going to have the opportunities. And let's talk about Jordan Love. Like, the man was on point the entire game, right? He's one of 3 quarterbacks in NFL history to throw 4 touchdowns in an NFL game, in a playoff game, and lose. Now, I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers is another one of those quarterbacks. So Green Bay is like cornered the market with like 67% of these quarterbacks. But you just have to be able to hold up on under pressure like that. And Matt was not able to hold up with that lead, while Jordan Love was playing lights out football this whole game. But he wasn't given the opportunity to go and put the game away in the third quarter. I put that squarely on LaFleur's shoulders, as you should, as the head coach and play caller. Now we get into this other question, right? And like, not to mention like the other stuff that went wrong. Like Brandon McManus, every time he saw that he had to kick the ball, just shanks it straight to the sideline and nothing ever goes in the goalpost. Like, if you want me to write a story about my 28 years of life watching Packers playoff football, there's one Super Bowl, there's a ton of defensive letdowns, and there's a ton of special teams letdowns. And that was one of those. Like, it makes it more difficult on the Bears, where if you make those 2 field goals and your point after attempt, like, now the Bears were fighting for 3 touchdowns rather than 2. And like, that's another fall apart. I do believe that Rich Bisaccia will not be coaching with the Packers by the end of next week. So he'll be out.
Matt LaFleur, and what's your thoughts on that?
Now, there's the other question. So I'm not 100% sold on gut Matt LaFleur. Like, he's still a good coach. He's still a very creative play caller, and he still knows how to utilize his players' strengths really well. My biggest pickup with Matt is I think he still needs to develop the offense. But in my opinion, fire Adam Stenavich as well, our offensive coordinator, and bring in someone else to do play calling. So let Matt develop the plan. He is fantastic at it. And if he gets cut, he's going to be a very hot head coaching candidate. Probably for Arizona, my opinion. And then Malik Willis will be his quarterback, also my opinion. But let Matt resume as head coach. You get rid of Adam Stenavich, and there's a couple guys out there that are younger, a little bit more unproven, but I think would fit in a little more aggressively with their play calling in Green Bay to align more with Jordan Love's strengths. That's the pass game coordinator for the Rams and the pass game coordinator for the Patriots. I don't remember either of their names, but I remember like looking at them and stuff they were doing. They're a little bit more aggressive with their play calling and aligning. Obviously, we saw like Matthew Stafford almost have an MVP season, and same with Drake May, equally in their right. And the consistency was just there. I think adding that in and trying to find a way to retain Jeff Hafley, which is the other big question, is how do you retain Jeff Hafley? Or bring someone else in that's equally as good, but I'm not sure you're going to find them, is probably the move to make. So I'm not the gut LaFleur. I'm not in that camp as of this time. I know Ed Policy, our new president taking over for Mark Murphy, said he doesn't like lame duck seasons. So Matt is in the last year of his contract. And this is where we get into, this isn't public information. I also don't get this information as an owner. This is like wide speculation, like just across the league. Ed Policy had come out and said, I don't like lame duck contract seasons, like meaning the final year of your contract. I don't like it. I'm either going to cut you or I'm going to extend you. And so I know this whole week, like they're discussing it. LaFleur's got his agent on it, and the Packers are discussing it. What I don't know, and the rumors that I've heard is LaFleur's asking for a lot of money to be retained, and Ed Policy is not totally sold that he is worth that amount of money. Now, that amount of money is unknown to me, right? And it's not going to become public because it's not against the cap, right? You don't have to disclose your coach's salaries, which is okay. If they don't reach a settlement, I hope they don't reach it sooner than later. So now let's go complete opposite. So Matt LaFleur stays. That's how I hope the structure goes. Matt LaFleur departs. Let's talk about that. So Matt LaFleur either has a mutual parting of ways, right? Or he is fired, right? One of those two options. And I think the strongest move there is you put Jeff Hafley in as head coach. You retain Jeff Hafley. I've noticed in the NFL, it's really, really difficult to get a high level defensive thinker like Hafley, and retaining him with the Packers and with Micah Parsons and the way he's renovated this defense is key. There's not another person I would trust to bring in. And then he goes, replaces himself as DC, and then he goes and grabs one of these guys I mentioned as offensive coordinator to also do the play calling, right? Everything still ultimately flows through him, but he's my number one coaching candidate for Packers head coach if LaFleur goes, right? Now, if LaFleur goes, I gave a preview. I think he would be really strong in Arizona with their organization. And I think he's going to try to bring in Malik Willis, and Kyler Murray's out. But I think
Kyler Murray. Yeah.
If Matt LaFleur goes somewhere, he's going to want Malik Willis. Like, that's his guy. Malik has definitely performed under Matt. Malik's going to say, yeah, I could rock with Matt LaFleur, right? And if, maybe he goes to Miami, right? You can take Malik Willis to Miami. I think he would perform better than Tua and Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. I think, again, it would be definitely a mistake to get rid of Matt LaFleur. Maybe more to Brandon's theory, instead of gutting LaFleur, you double the LaFleurs and bring in Mike LaFleur as the offensive coordinator. He's I think he's the Rams offensive coordinator, but I mean, Sean McVay does most of this stuff there. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Jordan Love had a really good game, and he almost threw the game-winning touchdown if Christian Watson can just extend himself a little bit more, where he throws it into triple coverage, but drops it into the one spot in the bucket where it needs to be. I don't know. I don't know if it hit off Watson's hands, but it was pretty close to where Christian Watson was. And then, I mean, that would have been some bragging rights for the Green Bay Packers. But I mean, how about Caleb Williams too? Like, both Caleb Williams in that second half, at least, and Jordan Love kind of going like blow for blow with one another in terms of some of those wow throws that they were making. With Williams on that fourth down, when they're down 2 possessions, if he doesn't get it, the game is over, and he's like falling back off balance, jumping up, and throws it right to where it needed to be for the first down. And I think Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, and Patrick Mahomes are the only 3 quarterbacks that I trust to make those sorts of off-platform throws on a consistent basis. The rest of the games, they have differences in their games, but they all have the arm strength and hip torque to make those sorts of passes. Caleb Williams did it right there. And then Ben Johnson, a couple things about Ben Johnson. One, he set up the game-winning touchdown pass through kind of like weeks of film beforehand, where they had Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, and DJ Moore all on the same side. And each of the 4 weeks leading into this game, on film, he showed screen to Luther Burden, screen to Luther Burden, screen to Luther Burden. Even in this game, earlier in the game, he shows screen to Luther Burden. On the go-ahead touchdown, they pump fake the screen, and Carrington Valentine bit on that thing and allowed DJ Moore to just get wide open past him. I think that is like some expert forethought for, I mean, in that 4-game stretch, they went up against the 49ers, who could have been a first-round matchup. They went up against the Packers, who could have been a first-round matchup. So they were putting it all on film and showing them in-game stuff that they could do, or stuff that they would do, and then switch it up at the last second. I think that was really good by Ben Johnson. And then I also, I like in a buttoned-up NFL world where rivalries, I think, are more between the fans and business, and when it comes to two teams between one another being more business-like, I like that Ben Johnson is leaning into this I hate the Packers sort of thing. It's got like a wrestling, it's got like a WWE feel to it. Like Lovie Smith and Mike McCarthy were never gonna do that. It's something like, I feel like Ben Johnson's trying to get Matt LaFleur, like, come on, man, let's really pump this rivalry up with some of the comments that he makes.
Man, that's such a way to put it, Josh, because I put it as very unprofessional to be a professional head coach, right?
And it's an entertainment business, though. I mean, like, we're playing sports. Let's
even like stuff like, so we've played 3 times this season. Like, even going and like some common courtesy of just shaking the man's hand and say, "You guys played well," right? That's all you have to say, not just sprinting past him and basically giving a high five handshake. Like, just a little bit of respect there, right? And Ben Johnson is the one that put himself in that hole. Like, Matt LaFleur was just like, I'm not going to partake in this, right? That's the professional side of things, what you got to do.
The boring side of things is what we call it here. Wait
a minute. Show me your earpiece. Where's Josh Haupt? Where is he?
Like, if Matt LaFleur, like, if they started, like, I mean, the rivalry that could happen if they just, or if like John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin had done that, like, we need some life into it, because otherwise all the press conferences, like, when I have to cut them up for previews, it's like, oh, yep, they have, the really good secondary, even if they have the worst secondary in the league. I'm cutting up audio to put into these radio stories instead of, oh yeah, I hate the Packers, I hate the Giants. I like, that's the kind of stuff that sells. Let's go with some of the WWE stuff.
If it's the goal is to sell it, you probably have to offer some royalties to coaches.
That's true.
Well, I know a lot, living in Illinois, I know a lot of people who were ecstatic after this game, and we'll see if they are after the Rams, because I think it's going to be it's not like the Packers weren't a tough offense. I don't know. It's just, who knows what that'll be. Who knows?
Yeah.
Moving down next game, Bills-Jags. This was the only other one I didn't get to watch, and I wanted to, because I think this was the one. So before this, I think we all predicted the Rams to win. On the Bears-Packers, I think Josh and I thought the Bears would pull this out, and Brandon thought the Packers would take this one. Bills-Jags, I think I was the only one that took the Jags. Everybody else took the Bills, and of course the Bills did win.
I took the Jags as well.
Oh, you took the Jags as well. So looking at our first, when you look at the first 4 games, you have a 3-point difference, a 4-point difference, a 3-point difference for Bills-Jags, and then a 4-point difference for Eagles-49ers. Very, very close. Could have gone either way, but Jags-Bills, Josh Allen went in there, put it all on his shoulders, just abused his body and got it done. From the clips I saw, because I didn't get to watch this one. How was the Bills-Jags game for those of you who watched?
It was one of the first 3 games. Whoever had the lead at the 2-minute mark, that team lost the game, and this was the third one of those for that to happen. And again, like you said, Matthew, is because Josh Allen just doing playoff Josh Allen things. Like, I think we talked about it. Like, I think we all thought the Jaguars probably had the better chance to win this game, but the ultimate X factor is just what Josh Allen is able to do. And this was despite hitting his hand on a dude's helmet and playing with the soul on hand for the final 2.5 quarters of the game. This was despite him hurting his knee on a play, on a non-contact play. And everyone, Tony Romo, everyone on the sideline all thought, like, this could be like ACL or something. This could be a very, very serious injury. Nope, he's back in the next drive, and he's not playing it safe. He's still doing quarterback sneaks. He's still putting his body on the line, running it, and doing whatever it takes for Buffalo to win this game. And I think we mentioned it. This is probably the one chance he's going to have where It's not going to be where he doesn't have to go through Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have to go through Joe Burrow. He doesn't have to go through Lamar Jackson. He is QB1 in the AFC, in the teams remaining in the playoffs. He is not going to let anything get in his way of playing the game the way that he's going to play it. He's not going to shy away from the hits. And we saw that. And he runs in for a late touchdown that was set up by a breakdown in communication by Greg Newsome, who the Jaguars had traded for earlier this year. They gave away one of their top cornerbacks ahead of that in order to bring Greg Newsome in, who is a little bit younger at the trade deadline. And there was miscommunication between him and Devin Lloyd and him and the other safeties a couple of times in this game that allowed Brandon Cooks on that last drive to get wide open, set them up in the red zone. And then they had this quarterback sneak where Josh Allen just charges forward for like 15 yards and gets it to the 1 yard line. And then they quarterback sneak it again from there, and he gets the touchdown. And it was just a heroic effort really from Josh Allen. Like it's gladiator things. If we were in Roman times, like Josephus would be writing about this. It'd be Odysseus talking about, or Homer rather, talking about all of the heroics that he put on display at at Jacksonville's Duval Stadium. I don't know what it's called, the Jacksonville Stadium. And then despite all that, it was the defense that had to come up and make a play, and they did. They goaded Trevor Lawrence into throwing a bad pass. They had like this 2 safety look. They rotated 1 safety down. Trevor Lawrence didn't see that. Even so, they still had a perfect play call to beat that coverage, because they had one crosser coming one way that was shallow, another that was deep behind. The safety that was supposed to poach one of those routes was in no man's land. And if Lawrence had gone over the top to Parker Washington, it would be a touchdown, or at the very least a long yards after catch on Washington's deep crosser that would have gotten him into field goal range for a game-tying field goal. Instead, he throws it underneath. Tre'Davious White, who had a huge game for Buffalo all game, knocks it up into the air, and Cole Bishop comes away with the interception. So if I'm a Jaguars fan, I'm still very excited about the future. The reads by Trevor Lawrence there may be a little bit concerning, but the weapons that they have, once Travis Hunter gets back, I think all of those wide receivers are still under contract. I think ETN is the only one that's not under contract, and he's pretty replaceable for me. So I think if you're the Jaguars, you are very excited about the future of for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah. And you have a good new head coach who seems to be putting it together. And the season started off, it felt like a little bit shakier, but solidified. They won the AFC South. They made it now out the first round, which is never fun. But yeah, they've got a lot to be excited about. 49ers Eagles. This was a game that I don't remember what we picked last week. I picked 49ers. I don't remember who you guys picked.
I was with the Niners on this one.
And I think you said Eagles, thinking Saquon was just Saquon, and Saquon was. But when I watched this game, I felt like the 49ers were like winning by more than just 4 points. Like for the entirety of the game, that's what it felt like to me, even though that wasn't so. It was a really low-scoring game early, but 49ers, Christian McCaffrey, of all people out there, staying healthy, doing what he had to do, and
catching touchdowns too. Man,
what's that?
Christian McCaffrey and his touchdown catch.
Yeah.
You can't draw it up that well. That's insane.
And so the Eagles lose. Eagles out of it. Nick Sirianni not happy, and they let their
him and AJ Brown got into it on the sidelines after AJ Brown dropped a pass, but I don't know if AJ Brown's going to be back next year. Their offensive coordinator is also already out, so there's some. I mean, that just seems to be how the Eagles operate, and they were able to win a Super Bowl despite operating like that. But a lot of the times, more often than not, I think it's going to get in your way that way. The 49ers, like, I don't understand it because they are Eric Kendricks, who was really good in 2019 over a half decade ago, but like hadn't played at all this season and on the street until November, comes in and he breaks up a pass to win the game on 4th and 11. They have other linebackers in. Oh, by the way, I just saw before we came in here, they have designated Fred Warner to return from injured reserve. So he might be back for San Francisco. At least one reinforcement. He is a very integral part of that defense. But you have a bunch of no names out there that were making plays for San Francisco. Robert Saleh, credit for that. He might get a head coaching job again because of what he's been able to do. And then the offense, the fourth quarter play calling by Kyle Shanahan, where he goes with like the Philly special in Philadelphia. Jawan Jennings passes it to Christian McCaffrey for the touchdown, and then the go-ahead touchdown at the end is like this mesh traffic play where you're supposed to leak the running back out into the flat of one side of the field and everyone else just crosses over to that opposite side where the running back isn't, because then the linebacker has to run through 6 cornerbacks and wide receivers just to catch up to the running back. They allowed the running back or the linebacker to get that release to get over to that side of the field because they weren't doing it just McCaffrey going out into the flat. They decided to have him quickly cross back over the middle on a Texas route and catch it. So they allowed Nakobe Dean. They baited him into giving up that inside leverage, giving that mesh traffic look, and then Christian McCaffrey just took it in from there. And it was like a easy walk-off, wide-open touchdown with Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh. That is just a masterclass by those two to beat the reigning Super Bowl champions who were in it until the very end.
Yeah, and I do think you're right, Robert Saleh. Like, he made a case for himself with just the number of injuries and what he had to deal with and what he put up as a product every week with that defense. So we'll see if he ends up somewhere. I think we're going to see this year a lot of defensive-minded coaches hired. You know how sometimes you'll go through these like back and forth waves where you have like all offensive-minded coaches. I think this year we're going to see like a rise in the defensive-minded coaches, and we'll see what that does. Chargers Patriots. Never really a game, man. Justin Herbert could not get it settled down. His receivers weren't on the same page as him. Patriots were making it hard, and Patriots were looking good on offense. Drake May was looking good. Only 16-3. It wasn't like a blowout. I mean, it's kind of a blowout, but not like the next game we're going to talk about down there. But still, the Patriots handled the Chargers pretty easily and looked good doing it.
Yeah, the offensive line issues for Justin Herbert reared their head in the playoffs again. It happened last year, and in that game, he threw 4 interceptions against the Texans. This time against a lesser defense with New England, and now without your 2 star tackles, which you had last year, it was just a complete bloodbath. And Justin Herbert was taking hit after hit after hit, and it shell shocked him early. And then even from that point on early in the game, even when he had time, because he had so much of that shell shock, he was not able to really read the field all that well. And New England was just able to really get it done. Drake May made a really good, pretty pass. Like, he had his downs in this game for sure. But the one play when they needed him, when it was a 9-3 game in the third or fourth quarter, he hits Hunter Henry on an absolute dime down the sideline. The Patriots did what they needed to do. They weren't able to get their explosive plays, but were able to play the Chargers brand of football and kind of shift their identity. And that was what the Patriots were so good at during the Bill Belichick era, is they don't have to rely on one specific identity. They can kind of be chameleons. So that's, I think, a credit to Mike Vrabel. And then this is also the game where that got Greg Roman fired finally. Greg Roman, whose calling card in the NFL was one divisional playoff game against the Green Bay Packers back in January of 2013, and that was more Colin Kaepernick than anything. He has been living off paycheck by paycheck that one game ever since. And here, 4th and 9, granted the Chargers were going to lose this game anyway, they go play action on 4th and 9, where there's no need to fake the run. Nobody is going to bite on a play action. There is absolutely no, and even more so, usually on play action, when it's when you're under center, at least your running back is going to go block the middle, the first guy that gets loose up the middle. When you're shotgun doing play action, even less likely that you're actually running the ball from shotgun, less likely to trick them. And also the running back is veering off to the side to help with pass protection on the side, but all the Patriots pressure had been up the middle in this game. So not only was it play action, it was the worst type of play action for that particular scenario. And I think that is kind of the epitome of the Greg Roman NFL experience. He will not be missed in the NFL. He might make a good college coordinator though if he wants to head that route.
And I think Josh and I both chose the Chargers, and Brandon chose the Patriots. We were severely wrong. Patriots did win this one, and they will be taking on the Texans, I believe, who we're going to talk about next. Texans Steelers. Oh, what a game. Everybody coming out wondering just which of these defenses we're going to like really, they both have good defenses, and, seeing what would happen with Aaron Rodgers and what could be his last game. And man alive, the Texans defense, man alive. Texans offense, they've got some work to do. I think there was so many snaps that were missed between the center and CJ Stroud. I think at one point, the guy said, 3 interceptions, and all Steelers got off of it were 3 points. They could never get their offense going. But the Texans defense is for real. And when I watch Will Anderson, I'm just like, man, he looks like a man among all the boys. You got some defensive linemen who are just look fat and big, and then you got this guy. He just looks like it's crazy athletic, and watching him play is so fun. But yeah, that Texan 4-man front, whatever it was, just all night long up in Aaron Rodgers' face, and they won. This was the biggest difference in points, 30-6, and they're going to be facing the Patriots next week. But what did you guys think of this game? What did you think of Aaron Rodgers' possibly last game, and do you think it'll be his last game?
Well, if it was his last game, his last throw of his career is a pick six.
Yeah, a long pick six too.
Yeah, those don't happen often. I think he's got under 10 in his entire career. So it's quite impressive.
Yeah.
This game, despite being the largest gap, this was the game closest going into the fourth quarter. It was 7-6 going into the fourth, and the Texans scored 2 defensive touchdowns with the fumble recovery by I don't think it was Tim Settle. It was their other guy their other big defensive tackle.
It was the one where Will Anderson knocked it out, and then this guy just standing there just picked it up and turned around. To the end zone.
I mean, Houston is scary. This was the only team that I thought in the AFC that might have a chance to slow them down, just because the way that Pittsburgh typically plays, it kind of neutralizes the strengths of Houston, but Jalen Petre neutralized the way that Pittsburgh played it early, whereas they want to get the ball going and get screens going to your tight ends and running backs. Jalen Petre made 4 plays in the first half of this game where he is stopping the run at the line of scrimmage, filling the gaps, or stopping a screen right away and just not allowing any yards after catch. And now the Steelers are playing down the whole time. They can't play to their strengths, and that allows the Texans to now get back into their strengths. So that was Jalen Petre is the MVP for Houston for me because of what he was able to do early. And then the defensive line, they didn't blitz hardly ever. Under 10% blitz rate in this game. They were rushing 4, and they were destroying Aaron Rodgers against what's not a terrible Steelers offensive line. It's not a good offensive line, but it's at the very least middle of the road. And Houston, like sharks, come in and just tear them to pieces. I will admit, as a Minnesota Vikings fan, that my most hopeful season ever was 2010, heading into the 2010 season where, Brett Favre was coming back for a second year. We had just missed the Super Bowl. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And then what happens? Aaron Rodgers and the Packers played the Chicago Bears, the 2 teams I hate the most, in the NFC Championship game against one another after Brett Favre has the worst season of his career. And the Packers go on and win the Super Bowl to add insult to injury. For someone who had to experience that as a Minnesota Vikings fan, watching Green Bay lose after a 21-6 lead, and then watching Aaron Rodgers in what might be his final pass be a pick six where he also misses a tackle and flounders out of bounds on the pick six. It gives me a silver lining to what has been a very one-sided rivalry between the Packers and Vikings throughout my playoff life, my football watching life.
You got to be careful there, Josh. You might be talking about your starting quarterback next year.
Nope. I've decided not. I watched Aaron Rodgers.
I've decided not.
Yes, we are not going to do that. I'm talking with Quessy right now. No. He just shut out DK Metcalf out of the whole offense after he dropped a pass and went back to him one more time and then never again. So Like, I don't want him to do that to Justin Jefferson and make Justin Jefferson upset. So I've changed my mind on if we are going to add a veteran quarterback that I would want it to be Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that I do any longer.
Right. Russell Wilson time. I hear you.
How many years
I want
was
Anthony Richardson.
how many there you go. How many years was Anthony? How many years was Aaron Rodgers starting quarterback?
For the Packers?
He was 18 years in Green Bay.
So then 19, 20, 21.
Yeah. 2008 was the first year that he started tormenting me as a starter. And then he finally left after the 2022 season. That's all. Everything else, it's like, okay, he's gone. The bad man is gone. And now the bad man has been punished. It was the same thing with Drew Brees, because Drew Brees also threw an interception on his last play, and Drew Brees ruined my hopes and dreams in the 2009 season, and as he did to your hopes and dreams, Matthew, as well. But
also famous interceptions on their last plays. You also have Brett Favre, famous Minnesota Vikings quarterback. Josh knew that, and Tom Brady. I haven't checked the tape on either of the Mannings if their last pass was an interception or not. But some notable people.
So he had 18 years as a starting quarterback, not just in Green Bay. His 18 from 2008 to now.
Yeah, he was 15 in Green Bay because he sat for 3 years, but he was in Green Bay a total of 18.
Yeah. Another one of those, just like Tomlin, you kind of thought he would get to 20 years as a starter the way he was going to keep going, but he got that late start. That's what killed him.
Yeah. I think it's what developed him, actually.
It is. And it's funny because we were just talking about this, how coaches used to be given a contract and you had that many years. Now coaches, we saw, some let go even this year before their contracts are up. It's like 1 or 2 years. If you don't do it, what the dude in Arizona, this was his first year, right? You're gone. And so that not only the coaches, but quarterbacks, we see the same thing. You don't get that chance to sit and learn like you used to in most places. Green Bay was the exception twice in a row, and everybody talked about it like crazy. But Anthony Richardson could have used some of that. But he did get to sit and watch this year, pretty much. I don't know if it did anything. None of us know. Nobody knows.
Well, he got to watch out of at least one of his eyes.
At least one eye. All right. Well, real quick. It's 4:00. I don't know if Brandon has to take off on us here. Brandon,
I'm going to hop off.
It's good seeing you.
But my thing, I'm going to make a slightly less bold prediction. Bears lose this week, right? I'll throw that out there.
Is that bold for you?
That's normal for me, bold for others, because they play the Rams, right?
Yeah.
Rams are currently the team I'm hoping wins it all.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to leave it there.
All right. Well, have a good weekend. We will see you next week to see if that came true.
That's right.
All right.
See you guys later.
See ya.
Oh, wrong 2 names. Let's get the right names and let's zoom those out a little bit there. So you and I are going to kind of look forward to what these games are going to be coming up, starting with Texans Patriots. I think this is going to be a good game. Last week I voted against the Patriots, thinking they've had an easy schedule. They're going to play a tough team in the Chargers. But of course the Chargers have had that offensive line problem, but I still picked the Chargers. This time, I think those Texans are going to make it really hard. So do I believe more in the Texans defense or do I believe more in Drake May and that offense? Because I think the key thing that could be a difference is if CJ Stroud kind of gets rid of those bad passes, the interceptions, the snaps that are not where they should be. If they can get that worked out, I think I really highly favor the Texans, but it's hard right now because the Patriots did not look bad at all. They haven't looked bad all year. Why would they start now? I think this is going to be one of my favorite games to watch, Texans Patriots, and it's at the 2 p.m. on Sunday. So I think I am going to, for this one though, I'm going to pick the Texans. I'm going to pick an AFC South team to go on from this one, and I'm actually going to pick them to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they have that sort of team, and this would be their first ever AFC championship. They're the only team, if they are to make it, if they are to beat the Patriots. No other, or every other team has at least appeared in an AFC or NFC championship. The Houston Texans are the only franchise that has not. But yes, I agree that, to me, like the Texans offensive line is not that much different than the Chargers offensive line. So I expect the Patriots to create some havoc for CJ Stroud. But I think CJ Stroud played probably the worst game of his career yesterday, and Houston won 30-6 in the playoffs. So I think that he just has a little bit more. They're able to run the ball perhaps a little bit better with Woody Marks. It's not like a fun to watch ground game, but it's a ground game that's effective and gets the job done.
Between Marks and Chubb, they were cutting and running a lot and running well.
Yeah. That the one strength for Houston's offensive line is that they have been pretty good running the football, or at least not as putrid as they are in pass protection. So I think that's kind of one thing that they might have as a leg up on what the Patriots saw with the Chargers, is that they can actually run the ball. Will Campbell looked really bad against the Steelers. He gave up a ton of pressures, and I don't think he's going to fare any better if he has to go up against either Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter on opposite sides. And the Patriots don't have like a big game-breaking wide receiver that you trust to win one-on-one consistently against Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley Jr. I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game. And I think the Houston Texans win it, though, by like 2 possessions, by like 16-6 or something like that.
The funny thing was, everybody in the week leading up to, and the announcers, right as the game was getting ready to start, said, we expect this to be a low-scoring game. 30 points put up by the Texans. So, granted, 2 of those touchdowns were defensive.
Yes.
That's what really blew it open, was the defense. So, that'll be a fun one. How about Rams-Bears? What do you think is going to happen with this one? Obviously, Brandon says Bears going to lose, Rams going to win. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, one of my takeaways in the negative for Chicago after their win over Green Bay is that their defensive backs, like, they were changing direction slower than the Titanic away from the iceberg. And that like it's not like a top tier wide receiver group that Green Bay has. They have a lot of good receivers, but not a lot of excellent wide receivers. And you're probably facing the best 2 receivers grouped together in the NFL with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams against a guy who can scheme it up even better than Matt LaFleur and Sean McVay. Also, his offensive coordinator is Mike LaFleur, so maybe brothers are, sharing insider secrets there to help Los Angeles have even more of a one-up on Chicago. I think the Rams win this game. I think the Bears in the first half are going to be able to keep pace for a little bit, but I think the Rams are just going to run away with it at the end and really outscore them in the second half. I had originally going into the season, the Bears making it to the NFC Championship game against the Vikings. But I don't think they will make it based on the matchup that they have to go up against. I think the Rams right now are just a wagon, and they will continue to be a wagon against the Chicago Bears.
It's hard. I realized I started on Sunday instead of the Saturday. So these are the second 2 games, but with the Rams, I feel like that's going to be a much harder team to overcome than Green Bay was. Even though Green Bay was playing well in the beginning, I think it's the coaching that's going to make a difference there. I want to root for the Bears here. I have a lot of Bears people around me. So my want is that they would do some fourth quarter magic, just like they did all year long, and somehow pull it out and stun the Rams. That's my hope. But my prediction is that the Rams are going to win this one. And they're just a tough team. Like you said, those 2 wide receivers, Matthew, Stafford, their defense is not a slouch. It's a good team. So if the Bears pull out in the fourth quarter, I won't be upset, but I think the Rams are going to win this one. Let's move back. On Saturday, we start with actually the Bills and Broncos. And that's going to be a game. Bills and Broncos. I think it's Josh Allen versus the Broncos defense is where your real battle is going to take place in this game. And I think Oh, I think this one's a tough one for me because just like before, I think I said the Bills could lose. I think it's even more likely that the Bills could lose here, not because of Bo Nix and that offense, but because of that Broncos defense. But then again, Josh Allen will put himself in the line and he will go in there and play hero ball to do what has to be done. I'm having a hard time like really making a call on this one. I'll say this. I want the Bills to win. I've always been a fan of the Bills. I want them to get in and I want them to win a Super Bowl. And they haven't in forever. Now I know I said Texans. I thought the Texans would go Super Bowl just because I think the Texans, if CJ Stroud's playing, that defense is so crazy good. Bills, I don't see the defense as being that crazy good. The receivers are okay, but they're not like super elite. What they have is Josh Allen, and he's the only thing willing them there. But I don't like the Broncos like myself, so I'm gonna say the Bills will win this one, mostly out of a wishful heart, more than anything.
Yeah, I think while these two teams have different records in 2025 than they did in 2024, I think on paper, for the most part, these are essentially the same two teams that matched up in the playoffs last year, where Buffalo ended up winning 31-7, I think was the final score. I think that it could be that sort of game as well this time. I trust Josh Allen to be able to do whatever it takes against this Denver defense that I think had, if I was going through the all-pro players that came out, and I think they have 6 defensive players that are all pros, and that's not, and Nick Bonito did not make the list, who is one of the best edge rushers in the league. So they have 7 all-pro worthy guys on that defense, but I see it with Josh Allen. I need it to happen. And I think that it will happen in this game where they are able to get past. They had most of those defenders last year. I think they had everyone on that defense last year, and we're still able to, the Bills were still able to put up a lot of points on them. I think if the Broncos win this game, it is playing to their strengths, which is the run game and the underneath stuff. The quick passing game for Bo Nix, because Buffalo has one of the highest missed tackle rates in the NFL. And if you can get Marvin Mims, who forces missed tackles a ton, if you can get him and RJ Harvey into space, then you're keeping yourself into the ball game. And I think they will. I think it will be closer than last year's game, where because it's another year of experience for Bo Nix, and you got Sean Payton leading things, and he's going to learn from his mistakes. But I think the Bills end up pulling away. I think this might be one of the closer games because the Bills defense just still has been struggling, but I think the Bills are able to pull it off.
I'm also Brandon Perna. I don't know if you know who Brandon Perna is. He is a big Broncos fan. He has a really good podcast. Enjoy his sense of humor. But he has a little wheel of a curse wheel he spins every week, and it landed inordinately on the Colts in the later half of the season. And you saw all the stuff that happened to us. So in honor of Brandon Perna, I want the Broncos. He's a Broncos fan. I want them to lose. Sorry, Brandon Perna, if you see this, it's true. Don't curse my Colts. On to 49ers Seahawks. Again, we've talked about 49ers and all that they've gone through, that they're getting back a huge defensive piece, that Salah has done great, that Brock Purdy has done great. I think Kittle's out, right? He had a torn ACL or something. He's gone, which is a big deal. He's been good for them. They have a lot of other players as well. On one side, you got them. On the other side, you got the Seahawks. Sam Darnold, who was let go from Minnesota, goes to Seattle and has an amazing season. Now, this is not unlike the season he had when he was with the Vikings, right? This record, but then got to the playoffs and he struggled. So in this one, where do you see this game going? What do you want to happen in this game?
Yeah. Sam Darnold even struggled when these two teams matched up in week 18. He didn't have his best game, but he looked better than he did during the Vikings' final 2 games last season. And a big difference is the Seahawks defense. And I think a lot of people have talked about how what the 49ers are wanting to do is to get you into bigger personnel groupings by putting their bigger personnel out there. but their bigger personnel typically is more athletic. So like if they put 2 or 3 tight ends out there, they're expecting you to go 3 or 4 defensive linemen, not like your athletic edge rushers, but the stout, bigger defensive linemen. But the Seahawks don't change their personnel ever. They play nickel basically all the time, no matter what look they're going up against, because Byron Murphy is able to create havoc. Leonard Williams is able to create havoc underneath on the defensive line, even if they have the size misadvantage right there. And I think that it kind of neutralizes what the 49ers do well on offense, even more so that is neutralized because George Kittle is typically in those big packages, and he's one of those big athletes who uses his quickness to beat those big defensive personnel sets. Now it's not him, it's Jake Tongas. And it's Luke Farrell, who both, are guys. And I mean, to be fair, Jake Tongas did have a game-winning touchdown against Seattle in week 1 of this season when George Kittle got injured in that game. So they have been in this predicament before. I just think the Seahawks are ready for it, and it won't necessarily matter how good or bad Sam Darnold plays. I mean, obviously, if it's as bad as he was against the Rams in the playoffs last year, where the Vikings were averaging negative yards per drop back because of all the sacks that he was taking and the lack of completions, then it will be an easy 49ers win. But even with Fred Warner potentially coming back this week, I still think that it won't matter as much what Sam Darnold does. He is able to be more of a game manager here, more of what the 49ers do best when they have Brock Purdy, is Brock Purdy being a game manager. If he can be Brock Purdy instead of what he had to be last year for Minnesota, which was a top quarterback if they wanted to win games, if he can just be that game manager, that Brock Purdy, they're going to win this game.
So just to be certain here, who are you predicting will win this?
Oh, sorry, the Seahawks. Yes, I know I compared Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. Sam Darnold needs to be what Brock Purdy is for the 49ers when the 49ers are at their best. That's all he has to be, is what I'm saying.
I agree, and I think the Seahawks will win this one. I just put you in a conundrum because every time I vote against the 49ers, they win. I know, but
Except this last time.
Right. I voted for them. So I think the Seahawks will win this one. And I think it's great for Sam Darnold. I know you wish it would have happened with the Vikings, but I just love seeing the fact that when he was with the Jets, he almost came to a place where people were like Sam Darnold, and it was shaking their head, and scorn in their voice. And for him to come back, not just with the Vikings, but with the Seahawks as well, and just really kind of prove he's a guy. He's a guy. And I think that's it. 4 games. Oh, no. Yeah, we already talked about the other 2. So we'll watch these, see what happens. I think I'm most interested in watching the Sunday games. I think Saturday games will be good, but I think that Texans-Patriots is going to be a fun game to watch. So I think that's one I'm really looking forward to. And we'll come back here next week to see just how in the world all that ended up. But I think for this week, that's going to do it for us right here on the Football Fandemic. Everybody watch those games. Get your predictions. Let's see what happens. And we'll see you guys next time right here on the Football Fandemic. Bye now.